We're here again today, continuing on with our leadership series. Today I've got the absolute privilege of speaking to Danielle Nicholls. Danielle heads up our fostering and permanency department. So maybe to kick it off, can you tell me, Danielle, just what is fostering and permanency?
Fostering and permanency is one of the departments in Allambie where we authorise foster carers to come on board with their families, and then we get the opportunity to help the young people, the children that we work with, live in a family environment. So they go and live with the carers, and then we get to support both the child and the foster carers.
So you've been here for nearly 15 years. Can you tell me, way back at the start, how did you even get into this line of work in the first place?
Yeah, so I fell into it. Coming to Allambie was like an industry change for me, like a whole job change. And so I had a mate that worked in Allambie, and when I needed a job, she was like, hey, come here. And so I did. I've worked in a few different departments, a little bit of time in sort of admin positions down in our residential and life maps department, and then pretty quickly came up to foster care, which is where I've been ever since in love.
Can you tell me a bit more about that? So you've been in foster care now for a long time. Was it something that for you, just when you moved into that space, it just was like this is where I should be?
Yeah, I think so. I also love the people that I work with. That's across Allambie too, but I do think we've got just the most phenomenal team, and it can be such a high stress job and environment because we all care so much, and there are lives on the line that often you do then rely on the people around you to sort of keep you going through those times.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed the why behind things is really important to me, and I love understanding people and getting to know that. And in this circumstance, I get to learn more about so many different families. Every family has their own culture and ways of working or understandings, and so being exposed to that and then being able to support kids to find a family that really works for them and help them connect. I think it's just something that, it just tickles my brain. I enjoy that.
Love it. And so, we work in a really complex system. Mm-hmm. In your words, what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys face in your area in the fostering and permanency department?
I think the reality is we need more foster carers. And so we do have young people that don't have permanent homes, and that can be really, really stressful because obviously we care about these kids. They're great kids, and so not knowing where they're going to go can really, really hit home. It can be really tough for everyone, and we care for all the parties involved. We care about the kids, we care about the carers, we care about the families of origin, and trying to align everyone to get the best outcomes for everyone involved can be really tricky because we're all bringing different things to the scenario. And so just trying to work out the best way to do that, that can be really hard. But we also get to see some great outcomes when it works. I think the next level up that we've been doing a lot recently is including the families of origins, the greater community connections, and connecting them with not just the young people but with the foster families, and kind of creating that greater community, which is it's where we need to go, and it's really, really great we're getting there. I look back at some of our past practice and it was not the best. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of, that's probably a lot of the focus at the moment too, which is cool.
So what sparked that sort of transition to working with birth families in that foster care space? Because like you mentioned, that's not something that's always really been a massive focus. What shifted us in that way?
I mean, it takes a community, right? Like that sort of cliche, but it's the truth. All the evidence out there, the number one predictor of happiness, long-term happiness, is connections and friendships. And our young people are so often disconnected. It's recognising that the birth family have their own story and journey bringing to this, and that, it's not that they're bad people. There's lots of stuff involved. We used to sort of say to carers, oh, look, we'll head into the family. You don't need to worry about that. We'll put workers on to take them to see mum and dad. And we were almost using that as like a recruitment. And it wasn't out of any ill will for for our family members. Like, we've always held that true, but we can now see that actually for that young person, they need to see that all the adults in their life are working together, that all of their adults care about each other, like care about them. And when it works really, really well, I think the carers get a lot out of that too, because again, they want the best thing for this kid. When you put them at the centre and you know that's what's best for them, it's going to work. So obviously we want to make sure it's safe, and we do all of our checks and do everything as thoroughly as possible. Sometimes a family isn't ready to engage in that way yet because it can bring up a lot of hurt for them too. So every situation's different and dynamic, and that's, again, probably part of why I like it.
Tell me a bit about your team. Tell me about the Fostering and Permanency Leadership Group. Explain to me what they're like and how that works.
Everyone's really genuine, which I love. Like, you can't do this. We can't connect and understand families and how to best work with them unless you're willing to bring yourself to that space, which I think is great. I mean, I think a lot of certainly how I like to work, like a lot of the ways that we would approach working with our family and our kids and sort of understanding what makes them tick and drive, we apply to each other and have a lot of understanding and grace in that space, which I think is awesome. And really shy away from blame. Yeah. So I really appreciated that. I think that's been a culture that I noticed as soon as I came up here. If something went wrong, there wasn't that sort of pointed finger of, okay, who did this? Why is it that way? How did that happen? It was like, okay, we're here now. What can we do? Like, of course we do a reflect because we want to learn, but it's not in that sort of really negative way. And I think that's really great.
Foster carers come in all shapes and sizes, from all walks of life. But what do you, in your words, think makes them all the same? Like, what is it that they all do? And just tell me about foster carers in general.
I don't know if there is one sort of, I don't know, I've never thought about it, but I can't think of a singular attribute or thing, but that's what makes it work, because that's the same with children. They come in all different shapes and sizes and personalities and interests. And so I think that if you're prepared to be genuine with the kid, like if you put on a front, that's not going to last because they're living with you, they're in your home. But if you're able to just come and be like, okay, this is what I can give, realistic with that, full time isn't for everyone, and that's okay. Yeah. But we have all sorts of needs. We have our weekend carers, which is like, I think it'd be awesome. In my mind, it's like the fun auntie of foster caring, right? Like you get a kid that can come into your house for a weekend. You can prepare for that and, just really love on them. Then they go back to their full-time carers and they can deal with the routine of school and all of the other things. And man, it makes a difference. Both for the kid, again, it's another connection for them. It's another experience for them to see like all the different families and how it works. And the foster carers can have a little bit of a break for a weekend, and it makes all the difference for them. Like, it just can't be understated. Even the foster carers' own kids, just to have a weekend just with their mum and dad. It's not unlike when you've got a separated family and they'll go to dad for a weekend and back. So it's not a negative thing, but it just gives everyone more connections and space. What
would you love to make sure that every foster carer knows about their contribution in this space working with young people?
That it all has an impact. Nothing's too big or too small, like even the small moments. It's so interesting being around so long now. We get the opportunity to reconnect with some of the young people that we've, had in the past, and often there does seem to be a part of their journey where they do the 18-year-old run off and act like rat bags. That's sweet. Like, we all did too.
Yeah.
Then they come back around, and when connecting with them, it's incredible what they remember. And often it is these small little moments that you won't even remember. I truly believe even when they move on, life and growth is a continuum, and some carers might be taking a kid from here to here and then they move into a different home. And I really feel for those people, because I hope they know that doesn't mean that their impact isn't something like that was their role to take them there. Yeah. And I can guarantee that it'll go through. But often it is just the little moments can make all the difference.
So where do you hope to see foster care, sort of moving over the next few years? Like what do you see as the growth or the opportunities in that space, and what's needed?
I think it is going to be Certainly just more integration again with families and greater connections in general is kind of where we need to see it going, which I think we're working on that continuum. There's lots of ways to do that. And again, I think that's actually part of the strength in this. Like, again, it's one of the things I have valued about Allambie is that idea of trying to be innovative and not having a square, like finding different ways to meet the needs. And I think that flexibility really allows for so many different options. And certainly we're trying to see that as much as possible in our space. There's some new different programs sort of popping up, which are hybrids between our residential care and foster care, where there's a little bit more resourcing so that we can have, some of the kids with a bit more of a higher support need come into a home environment, because we're able to pay the carer a bit more, give them extra specialised training and really wrap the supports around them. And I think that's a really great space, because there are kids that, with the right carer, we could then get back into that home environment, which is what we're all after.
Yeah.
And cultural practice, I think, is the other thing that we're really focusing on, because to be safe, our children need to be culturally safe too. And so just really better understanding that and how that can be really implemented, and bringing our carers on board, and how we can support them to understand that too.
So if you look back on your time, working in the fostering and permanency space, like, what are some things that you're really proud of?
Yeah, look, I think we've come a long way. Over the time, there's been a lot of changes that needed to happen, and they have. So I think that's really great. We've navigated some really tricky situations to great outcomes, which is always awesome to look at. But just, that ability to, I think, be quite self-reflective on our own practice, that has then allowed us to be able to grow and do things better. I think that's really great.
Well, Danielle, thanks so much for coming in and taking the time to talk to me today. I really appreciate your time and listening to your insights and your thoughts and reflecting on your awesome career here at Allambie. Thank you for your service and all that you've done for children, young people, families, foster carers and our staff. Thanks so much.
No worries. Thank you.